Hello. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a camera I have shot more pictures with than probably any other camera I have ever owned. And that is the Nikon D810 36 megapixel DSLR. I purchased this camera in late December of 2014. It had been introduced in July of 2014. And it's now 7.5 years that I've owned this camera. It has never been serviced other than to clean the imaging sensor. Okay, never had a problem with this camera. I've shot almost 148,000 pictures with it, and again, without any issues whatsoever. So that's really important to me as a professional. I earn my living with my cameras, and like the car that I drive, it's important to me, the most important thing to me is reliability. And this camera is extremely reliable. I have used it in all types of weather conditions: snow, rain, high winds, freezing temperatures in Northeast United States, 110 degrees at the Grand Canyon, and again, it has just performed beautifully. Few things I really like about this camera. Obviously the 36 megapixel. Now I also have a Z7 which is 45 megapixel, and I don't see a great difference in resolution between those cameras. I think 36 is adequate for most picture taking situations, landscapes, large groups, etc. One of the things I really like, I do a lot of headshots and portraits, and this camera has the availability of a 5:4 image ratio image area. So it scales right up to 8:10. So I do some senior portraits, and the most popular print size is 8:10. So it scales right up, and you don't have to worry about leaving some room at the top or at the bottom. It's nice looking through the viewfinder to see that 8:10 format. This camera shoots at 5 frames a second at full resolution. It also has an optional battery grip, the D810. This takes an additional ENL15 battery, so there's one in the camera and one in the grip. Just with the camera and the battery, it's rated at 1,200 shots. And I have shot with this camera all day long, and almost never, unless doing really long exposures or reviewing constantly, I have never shot through a battery in one day. So even in the cold, they seem to perform extremely well. Autofocus on this camera is excellent, has 51 points. 15 of those points are cross type, and 11 of them will work at f8. Probably the only area, the only picture type situation where this camera is not the greatest is in very low light. And not that the high ISO isn't good. It is. It's very usable up to 3200, as long as you're not going to go big, even 6400. However, it will only focus down to -1 EV, and when you are in a situation where it's dark, it does hunt. It does not focus that great in real low light. Otherwise, it's excellent. Good focus tracking in bright light. I really like the group area AF, which was originally introduced on the F4S. And what it is, you can move it around the viewfinder, but it's 5 focus points. It's a central point surrounded by 4 other points, and all 5 are active when you select this group area AF, and it will focus on the closest subject under one of those 5 points. It works really well, especially in a quick moving situation. If you just had a single point selected, sometimes it'll, you'll not be able to keep that focus point right on the moving subject. but with the group area, it seems to be much more successful. Image quality on this camera, especially at the lower ISOs, is fantastic. ISO 64, which many cameras don't have. Many cameras start at an ISO of 100, but this camera will go down natively to 64, gives you fantastic dynamic range, comparable to medium format cameras. So it's great for landscape work. And like I said earlier, I have shot with this successfully at up to 3200, and in a pinch you could go to 6400. So it's a very versatile camera. This camera also has a movie mode, but honestly I've never used it. I really didn't shoot any video until I got my Z6, and that is superior to the 810 for video. It has a built-in flash. I don't know that I've ever used it. And when they replaced this camera with the 850 several years ago, they eliminated the flash. And I think for a professional camera, I don't think you really need a built-in flash. It's not very powerful. It doesn't have a great range. If you have a lens mounted which is large diameter, like even this 24-120 with the hood, that shade is going to block some of the light from the flash. I highly recommend this camera. The D850 is a better camera. It has more focus points. It will focus in lower light. It has a faster frame rate. This will shoot at 5 frames a second. The 850 will go up to 7 frames a second. But if you could find one of these in good use condition, I would highly recommend it, especially if you're a portrait or headshot photographer. These cameras work really well. Well, let me just go over a few more features of the camera. I'm not going to go over everything. There's just so much available with this camera, so many options. But it takes 2 memory cards, a compact flash, a CF card, okay, as well as an SD card. So you could set it as backup, one as backup. You could set it to shoot RAW on one card, JPEG on the other. You could set it for overflow, so if one of the cards fills up, it will go right to the other card. That's a nice feature to have. It syncs at flash at up to a 2/50th of a second. So if you use fill flash outdoors, that's very helpful. Through the menu system, you can display a grid in the viewfinder, good for architectural photography or just helping you to line things up. There's just so much more available with this camera. So I'm going to put a link in the description below to the specifications. There are plenty of good reviews on this camera. It was reviewed by just about every review site when it came out back in 2014. So, you know, if you need more information, just look there. But just my advice, if you're looking for a high megapixel camera and you can't afford to buy new, to buy a D850 or even a Z7, look for one of these. Look for a D810. Again, if you're a landscape photographer, this camera works out great. It doesn't have a tilting screen, so I know if you're shooting low angle, the newer cameras that have tilting screens, you know, if you like to get that camera right down on the ground, one of those with a tilting screen probably would be more beneficial for you. But if you don't need that and you're looking to save some money, just look for one without too high a shutter count. Like I said, mine has about 148,000. I believe this shutter is rated to 200,000, but I know of people who have them that have gone well over that without failure. So I would say, you know, just look at the condition and, you know, try to buy somewhere where they'll give you some type of warranty or at least a money back guarantee. So, okay, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and tap that bell so you'll be alerted anytime I come out with a new video. Now, I usually come out with a new video every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. And my next video will be on comparing high ISO on 5 different cameras. This D810, 2 mirrorless cameras, the Nikon Z6 and Z7, and 2 DX crop sensor cameras, the Nikon D500, as well as an older camera, the D7100. So I will talk to you next time.